my dears. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Monday night, and welcome to training camp. We have had the rookies and selected veterans report yesterday, the rest reporting today and tomorrow. So we have reached football time, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Dave, good evening. Reggie, good evening. Doc, good evening. AJ, good evening. Welcome, guys. We kind of figured tonight I would just kind of go over some of the training camp 101, beginning, everybody rolling in the latest news and everything else kind of stuff, and a little bit extra here along the way. So with that, we might as well get started here. Start off with a couple of non-Vikings related ones. Some significant stuff popped up here today. The Lions had a pretty scary situation. Their big free agent signing safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, got carted off the field this morning with a right leg injury. They were fearing the worst for a while, but it sounds like he's going to be okay. It's day to day, the last I had heard, so they probably avoided significant loss there. But one that kind of a really horrific issue over the weekend, Bills running back Nyheim Hines was sitting stationary on a jet ski and got hit by another rider, sustained serious but non-life-threatening injuries, and will miss the entire 2023 season. So we wish Nyheim Hines the best of luck in his recovery. Out at the lake, I see this every weekend. You see those guys out on those jet skis just whipping around like, I don't want to sound like the get the hell off my lawn old guy, but some of these guys out there pay no attention to anything else. They're just out there hot dogging and screwing around, and people get hurt that way. And I'm glad I've graduated up to the old guy boat. I got myself a pontoon, so it's a little safer there. But hey, my worthless opinion, good evening. Welcome again, my friend. Good evening, Nick. Then one other, I guess, note of significance, potentially somebody who could end up on the Vikings radar. The Washington Commanders today released guard Andrew Norwell. He's been with the team for quite a while, 31 years old, pretty decent guard. I don't know the reasoning, I guess, behind the release, but puts another veteran out there should some of these teams decide they need some additional guard, which us could be included. Party barge, absolutely, Dave. Mine's got the fishing setup as well, so I got the live well and the fishing chairs and everything else on it. So it works for the cruising around the lake and partaking in a few beverages of choice, and also works to go out and do a little fishing too, which always a good time there too. So, but anyway, let's roll into Vikings training camp stuff. On Sunday, 37 total players reported. All of the rookies, and then the all three quarterbacks. Of course, Jaron Hall being a rookie, but Kirk Cousins and Nick Mullins both reported, as did Harrison Phillips, Ross Blacklock, Brian O'Neill, William Kwenku, James Lynch, Blake Prohl, TJ Smith, and Josh Sokol. So some of these guys getting in a little bit. Thomas, Vikings signed a guard today. Is that because of Reed being on the PUP? Was going to get to that in just a minute here. So I guess we can start with that right now. The Vikings did sign guard Zach Snyder, not the one that did the Justice League movie, but He's spent a little time with the Rams, and he's out of San Diego State, but I don't think he has done a whole lot in the league. I didn't get much chance to research him because I just saw the news of that just before we started the show here. So I would guess the fact that they also placed Chris Reed on the NFI list. I'm guessing that's why they brought in Zach Snyder. Not sure what Reed's injury is, but the fact that it was the NFI list and not the PUP list, a little concerning, I guess, but I'm not sure, again, the reasoning behind that. Besides that, they also put edge rusher Andre Carter II on the active PUP list. I'm not sure what's up with him on that, but being he's on the active PUP list, they can activate him off of that at any point in time. So must just be a little bit of a issue that's going to keep him from practicing in full to for the first few days. Hey, Ken, good evening. Also shot the hell out of one of my players to watch that Lance and I talked about on Friday. Wide receiver Malik Knowles was also waived on the non-football injury. I don't know. I believe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but being he was waived and on the NFI list, I think they can bring him back and put him on IR and maybe that's something that they're looking at doing just for because they have 13 wide receivers out here. So I don't know what's going on there, or maybe they just didn't see enough out of him during OTAs and minicamp, but seems to me that they would have cut him earlier than that if they didn't have anything with that. A lot of moves the first day. Absolutely. It kind of gets that way. A lot of times there's a lot of back and forths and guys that aren't quite ready to go or couldn't pass their initial physical test and that kind of stuff. So they put them on the PUP list, or, somebody who's still nursing a little bit of a tweak or that kind of stuff. Wasn't good to see that Dwayne McBride, who hadn't really taken part in any of the off-season activities to this point, was not placed on the PUP list or anything. So he should be good to go to start practice tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever they start. Excited to see that the rookie DL Avery. Reggie, I'm big on this kid. 6 foot 345, I think was his combine weigh-in. So the guy is a bowling ball. And I know there's several people that are saying that this guy could push for some playing time behind Kiris Tonga. I know I believe it was one of the articles was our buddy Tyler Fornes over at Vikings Wire plus Vikings First and Skol. He had mentioned him, I think, on it's not Twitter anymore. Sorry, it's X or whatever the hell Elon Musk is calling it today. But evening, Dan. How's it going? Skol for life. How is it going? Justin, Purple and Gold for days. How's it going? Trade Hunter, he's playing games again like 3 years ago, holding out. That was one of the big questions I was hoping to hear something on today. Maybe we hear something tomorrow. We'll know for sure tomorrow, because if he doesn't report tomorrow, then he's obviously going to hold out at least to start camp. The whole Hunter thing is still a cluster fudge. Dan Avery's an interesting prospect. Could be a surprise to make the roster. I don't think it's going to be that much of a surprise, to be honest with you. I mean, he's another one of those big dudes who can fill the gaps up in the middle, eat up space, push the pocket. I think he makes it as the backup nose tackle. I honestly do. I think, right now they're talking Ja'Kalen Roy as the backup, but I think he's going to be more that guy that comes in on passing downs to get a little bit more pass rush ability up the middle. But I think as far at least as the rundowns go, I think you're going to see Avery make it, and I think you're going to see him rotating with Kiris Tonga, to keep them both fresh. I think the guy is going to contribute, and I think the guy is going to get himself some playing time. I think I honestly, I would kind of be surprised if he doesn't make the roster. Sign an OL and a tight end today. Yep, Ken, they did. We already talked about Zach Snyder, the guard, not the director of Justice League. The tight end guy, we kind of skipped over him. I was going to get to him too. He's a tight end and a long snapper. Colin Thompson, formerly of Carolina. Little place in our heart for this guy because he's also a podcaster. He's got a podcast. I forget what the name of it is, but I saw Luke Braun had posted something on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, today about him being a podcaster as well. Athletic bowling ball, think Jerry Ball. That's kind of the comp I was thinking also there, Dave. Roy and Avery look good. Lowry could be cut. I think Lowry sticks this year, but it doesn't. I think it's more bad news for Ross Blacklock and Jonathan Bullard. I don't think either one of those guys make the team, to be honest with you, if these young guys are anything at all. Is it possible the Hunter deal is already verbally done and Kwesi and Daniil are just sadistic enough to torment the fan base with some drama? I don't think so. I think they're still arguing about this, and Kwesi's holding firm on his side of things, and I think Hunter's camp is holding firm on his side of things. My guess is Hunter probably does not show tomorrow. I think he probably holds out at least the first few days of camp, just as kind of a business kind of thing. And we'll see who blinks first. Good evening, Chris. We need Hunter. Flores' defense is predicated on the blitz. He's one of the best in the NFL. Not going to argue that point. Daniil Hunter's a top 10 edge rusher in this league. And that I don't think there's much argument there. The problem is, you have Kwesi, who is working into the money ball type thing, and Hunter, who's getting getting towards 29. He's probably got one more top payday as an edge rusher, 3-4 year deal at that $20 to $25 million a year range. So he wants to get paid, which I can't blame the guy for. But he's mad at the Vikings for this current deal. If he's mad at anybody, he should be mad at his agent for brokering this deal 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was. Blacklock is trash. Yeah, I don't. Judd says they've made strides on a Hunter deal. That's good news to hear that, Nick. I hope they get something done at least, for this year. Whether it's I'd like to see him here for another, get him a 3-year deal, something like that on top of what he's currently got. So that gets him at like 32, 33 by the time he's done. Rumor that he will hold out. I think if absent a deal, Dave, I don't think he shows up. I honestly don't. What's the back end of this defense looking like? Haven't heard much about the cornerback stuff lately. I'm a real big Mekhi Blackman fan. I think that kid's going to be pushing for playing time right off the get-go, and by mid-season at the latest, Blackman's a starter. You can write that down as my bold prediction. Right now, as it's starting out, when you're going with nickel, it's going to be Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth Jr., and Byron Murphy as your 3 starting cornerbacks. I think if they go into a 2 cornerback set, Booth will come out. Murphy will move outside. You've also got Jay Ward, I think, who's going to be the backup at the nickel. So, I mean, there's guys there. Joanne Williams from New England, I think he's going to make the team as a rotational backup, maybe the dime corner, I guess. Going to cost Hunter if he doesn't show up. Yeah, that it will, but you know, some of these guys are willing to take that fine for a few days just to prove a point. Haven't heard anything in media. I think progress is being made. You're probably right there, Doc. If they were at a stalemate, I think there'd be a lot more of those he said, she said kind of leaks out there, like just like my worthless opinion here. Yeah, just what I was saying right now. If there was a lot of tension, there'd be leaks. I think you're probably right. Because if the Vikings had no intention of keeping him, I think they would be leaking out more about potential trade stuff from one side or the other. Going to be an exciting day tomorrow. It'll be interesting for sure, Reg. We'll see how things start out. I'm, just from the early reports from mandatory minicamp and OTAs and stuff, talking to the veterans on the offensive side of things, Darisaw made the comment that they never saw anything like this in practice last year. They didn't know what to expect when they got into game situations because they were continuously practicing against Donachel's 3-high shell coverage, pseudo prevent defense type stuff. And in practice, Flores is throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him. So $50K per day on fines. Yeah. So that $50K per day on fines will start eating into his $5 million in new money in a real quick hurry. Going to say Blackman's going to be on social media from news at Vikings camp. He's a chippy, smart cornerback. I like the kid, Reggie. When they brought him in for that top 30 visit prior to the draft, and from some of the sources I was hearing from that they, things went really well with him, I kind of figured that he was going to be a target of the team. And then once we actually did get him in the draft, I started watching film on him, and I like the kid. He's got ball skills. He's got, he's going to be good. I really think he's going to be good. Harrison Smith at 97 on the top 100. I saw that. And then there's also, was it 3 other former Vikings were in that top, or that first 10. Dalvin Cook was one of them. There's 1 or 2 other ones that were still there that aren't on the team anymore, but, or former Vikings at some point in time anyway. Blackman and Ward might rotate at nickel depending upon who they would defend. I think Blackman's going to be more of an outside guy, to be honest with you, Dan. I don't know that I didn't see him playing a whole lot of slot at USC. He, most of the film I was watching, he was playing outside. Not to say that he can't, but I think they're going to be looking at him more on the outside than it is on the inside. Too bad the Vikings didn't get Clark Phillips. I was a big Clark Phillips fan. My daughter went to University of Utah for a little while, and so I ended up watching quite a bit of the Utah games, and he's a hell of a player. I hope it turns out, translates to the pros, because in college, I mean, he was good. I really liked him. Can't believe we watched a full season of Donachel. Yeah, Riley, I can't either. He should have been gone after he made that comment that, I don't care about giving up yards because, or whatever it was whenever in November or whatever. But, I mean, I understand it to a point why O'Connell didn't want to start firing coaches in in the midst of his first season. But at the same point in time, we still had guys on staff that could have taken over and finished out the season that couldn't have done any worse than Donatel did. Phillips, Blackman, Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez, he's going to be a hell of a cornerback too, I believe. You know, I don't think he was ever going to get anywhere close to where that is. Shut down the 140-mile-an-hour dummy at Utah. Yeah, he held his own against Addison pretty well when I watched that. Speaking of the Jordan Addison thing, I've got that on my list too, so we'll hit him real quick. Story came out in the Star Tribune today that according to the police report, the reason why Jordan Addison was supposedly going 140 miles an hour at 3 a.m. was he was having a medical emergency with his dog. So if that's true, I will forgive him for the excessive speed and the dangerous driving thing if he's rushing his dog to something getting taken care of at the animal hospital or whatever needed to be done. Have not heard what the condition of the dog is, but apparently they must have bought the excuse because it became part of the story, part of the police report and everything else. So, and there doesn't seem to be any further charges or anything coming from it, which is always a good thing. So I need to know if the dog is okay. That was my first question too, Riley, is the dog okay if this was the fact? You know, it's I'm a dog owner. I know a lot of you guys are dog owners, so pet owners in general, I mean, we understand that kind of stuff if that isn't indeed what the issue was. Hopefully the dog is okay. Addison's going to be a baller. I think so too, Ridge. It's beachfront property in Wyoming too for sale. Dog wasn't in the car. Well, if the dog wasn't in the car, that makes things a little more, not even sure he has a dog. Yeah, I guess we'll see. If he's lying about having the dog, then he's back to being an immature idiot. If it's true about the dog, then I excuse it. So that's all I'm going to say on it. We'll put that in the rearview mirror, much like the patrol car that was following him, and move on to him trying to win that wide receiver 2 spot. Dan Ward be used against tight ends or big slot types, in my opinion. I think so too, Dan. I mean, we got that 3 safety set kind of stuff. That this guy's that hybrid that can play both corner and safety, of course. I think Ward's going to get significant playing time as well. A lot of it is going to depend on how Booth and Evans, show out. Can Andrew Booth Jr. stay healthy? That's my biggest concern with him, is can he stay healthy? Because if he can't, I mean, he hasn't been fully healthy since high school. And if he can't stay healthy, then that's going to mean Murphy's going to have to move, potentially back to the outside, or Blackman starts earlier than we kind of figure. And, then you're going to have to play Ward more at the slot, which I think is their eventual, plan is for him to be there anyway. But he has a dog. He was driving home to the dog. Okay. Thomas, did you see a rumor today the Vikings worked out a quarterback? Do you think it'd be a good idea to have a 4th one for preseason or for camp? I saw a long list of guys that they worked out here in the last day or two. As far as adding a 4th quarterback, it never hurts, especially when you're doing all these practices and the 2-a-days and that kind of stuff. Having a 4th arm, especially when you get into some of the games when Kirk obviously is not going to play very much. So wouldn't be the dumbest idea. Talk on the radio. There wasn't any pictures of the dog on social media. Yeah, we'll have to see if we can locate the dog. I'll put our crack staff of investigative reporters on that. My worthless opinion. We'll see what we can find out. Case Cookus. I don't think we're bringing Case Cookus back again. Maybe, but I doubt it. Good. It'd be nice to see that secondary grow together. I agree with that 100%, Reggie. I'm just hoping that they do grow into a competent unit. I'm excited as hell to see what Flores is going to do with these guys. I mean, we can't be any worse than we were last year. And I think Flores, and I've said this before, Flores himself is probably worth 6 to 7 spots in the defensive rankings over Ed Donatel. I believe that fully. There's going to be some growing pains. You know, as aggressive as he likes to be, some of these young guys are going to make mistakes. They are going to get burned. But can they make up for it? Can they learn from it? And, can we get it figured out? Flores' defenses probably, typically start a little slow until they get everything all meshed and stuff. So wouldn't be surprised to see us, getting into more shootouts and stuff at the beginning of the season, but hopefully with the personnel that we have, by the mid-season, they're going full song and we've got at least a competent defense. Heard that Cephas guy is a Taysom Hill was reading up on UDFA rookies. To be honest, Reggie, I haven't looked at him all that much because, he's kind of been lumped in that just a guy types category, camp bodies type thing. Maybe he surprises. Kudos to any of these no-name guys that come out and make a name for themselves, whether they secure a spot here, whether it be on the practice squad or sneak onto the active roster, or put enough tape out there and show out enough to where somebody else gives them a chance. More blitz will help the young cornerbacks. It will, as long as that blitz gets home. If they don't get home and whoever you've got back there, quarterback, gets the ball away, then they might struggle a little bit, at least to start. If they get a fourth quarterback, I want Holton Ehlers, Lothbrook. He's that actual Viking or Norwegian Viking guy, wasn't he, Dan? I wouldn't mind seeing him bring him in. There's not going to be anybody that's coming in as a fourth quarterback that's going to make the team. And I don't think they would keep 4 quarterbacks around. Maybe they put one on a practice squad if they like what they see on a guy. But seen a ton of talk of this defense being top 10 in the league this year. Yeah, slow the roll on that one. I agree with that 100%, Nick. If we can make it to top 10, I will be freaking ecstatic. I'd be happy with top half. So we, 15 to 17, somewhere in there. If we can get into that range, 15 to 20 even, I'll take that, because with as good as this offense should be, second year of O'Connell calling plays and all this stuff, they're going to be able to open up the playbook a little bit more. Kirk Cousins made a comment the other day that they're still, I think they only used about 60-some% of the playbook. There's still a lot more that they never even got into last year just because of the implementation from scratch and things like that. So there's a lot more stuff there that I think, this offense has the potential to be lethal if everything starts clicking the right way. Descendant of Ragnar. I thought that's who it was, Dan. I remember talk about him prior to the draft, and be a cool story, if nothing else, just to have him come in for a camp arm and see what happens. Maybe springboards him to a job in the USFL or the XFL or something like that. Who knows? Growing pains in the beginning for the defense. Absolutely. We got a lot of new guys, a new system, a lot of difference from last year. Adam Thielen and John Randall were no-name guys. That's true. You know, seems like a lot of times there's always one of these no-name guys or undrafted free agents that step up and surprise a lot of people. I mean, I think we got 2 undrafted free agents already that are going to make the team. I mean, Andre Carter and Ivan Pace. I expect Ivan Pace probably next year to be starting alongside of Asamoah, to be honest with you. I think that kid's really good. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's going to play hard. How long do you think the kicking competition will go after the second preseason? Yeah, I think, honestly, it probably goes until they need a roster spot to bring in somebody else if they work out somebody that they like, because from what I heard from mini camps and that stuff, Puzzledny, or however you say his last name, was pretty erratic. There were days when he was hitting everything, and then there were days that he couldn't hit anything. I think Joseph is more consistent. I think he, for the most part, last year earned himself the benefit of the doubt. Now, if he can just do better on his point or extra points, I think we're in better shape. Skull for Life, 20 to 22 defense, still be a huge improvement. Yeah, absolutely it is. I'd like to see us inside the top 20. I think that's possible. It may take a little bit of time, but offense will be more dangerous this year, helps the defense grow because it will allow them to take more risk and result. Yeah, you're right, Reggie. I fully agree with that. If this offense can score points on a consistent basis and quit going into that shell that we tended to after the first scripted plays in the first quarter and then not figuring it back out again until late third quarter, we can start playing second quarter, third quarter offense like our first and fourth quarter offense. This team has the potential to do great things on offense. It's like moving. You still have boxes unpacked year 2. Yeah, it is. You know, completely new coaching staff, completely new schemes, the set, everything else. You know, still the transfer from the 4-3 to the 3-4. You know, that was part of the problem last year too. Is I don't think we really had the personnel to play a 3-4, and some of that showed too. KOC's going for 50 points week 1. I'd love to see him hang a 50 burger right out the gate. Tampa Bay is a team they might be able to hit on that kind of number because they're going to be a mess and probably going to be in the mix at the end of the season for the Caleb Williams, Drake May sweepstakes, I would think. I could be wrong. I mean, they still have talent on that team. There's no question about that. But when you've got Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback, he's a bridge quarterback until they find something better. I mean, UDFA, Carter Pace, Ali, and Avery. I think Ali, he's part of that foreign intern program type thing. So he's not going to count against the practice squad number. So I think he's a prime candidate to stick on the practice squad unless they just don't like what they see out of him when he gets to that point. Avery, definitely, I think he makes the roster as well. Some of those wide receivers, it's definitely possible. Right now, I think the 5 wide receivers, if they keep 5, they keep 6. 4 of them are pretty much a lock. Brandon Powell, I think, is probably wide receiver 5 right now. Jalen Reagor, it would not hurt my feelings at all if we never see him in a purple uniform again. I don't think he makes the roster unless he's made considerable improvement in the offseason. Then, yeah, you've got about 8 or 9 other guys that are sitting there vying for at least practice squad positions, and you'll have a couple, 3 of those guys that'll make it on there, I'm sure. But how many games you think it'll take before the defense starts to gel? I think, that first 3 to 4 weeks is going to be a little interesting. I would say by, week 5, week 6, they ought to be pretty good in the, up to speed anyway, and start in that gelling and playing better under the system. So the first handful of weeks, I think, could be a little bit sketchy, but after that, I fully expect them to put the hammer down and start showing up as a competent defense. Skull for Life Rager's gone. Right now, I would be surprised as hell if he stays. I think that's part of the reason they brought Brandon Powell in, because he can return punts also. And with Rager, that was supposed to be the reason why we brought him in, and he couldn't return punts either. I mean, he ran backwards on punts more often than he ran forwards, I think. He had, maybe 2, 3 decent punt returns all season. I mean, we can get anybody to stand back there and call a fair catch and do just as well as what he did. So Rager's extremely expendable. I don't think there's any need to keep him on this roster. Be some high-scoring games early on. Flores gets it down. We start stacking W's. I think so. Rager's contract guaranteed. Yeah, I think most of it is, Doc, but it's not. It's still his rookie deal. It's 4 or 5 million, somewhere in there. I think that they'd be on the hook for regardless, but I don't think that they're going to let that keep them from getting rid of him. If there's somebody better that deserves a roster spot more than he does, they'll eat that contract and let him go. Like I said, I just don't think he brings enough to the table to warrant keeping him on the roster spot. I don't. He showed me nothing last year that gives me any confidence at all. That Colts game, he was directly responsible for those 2 interceptions that Kirk threw because he quit on one route and ran the wrong route on the second one. Look for him to challenge Sloatman. He's also got there's also Josh Sokol, who was on the practice squad all of last year, that will be vying for that backup as well. Right now, it's Sloatman's job to lose. I'd like to see somebody, one of these young guys, step up and be that competent guy that can, push not only Sloatman but Bradbury as well. And we've had luck with late round centers in the past. It's all about just getting in the right system and catching one of these guys with some talent. Can you see KJ doing punt returns he has before? I honestly, in a pinch, I think they would, but I don't think they want KJ Osborne back there returning punts unless they absolutely have to, just for the simple fact that he is going to be wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, and I don't know that they want to risk getting him hurt returning punts when they have somebody, who's probably not going to play a ton of offensive snaps as it is, like a Brandon Powell or even a Jalen Naylor can return too. I could possibly see him getting some run back there at punt returner also. Try to trade Rager. I don't think there's a market for Rager. I don't. At the very best, you might be able to get a 7th round pick about him, but I don't think you're even going to get that. He's kind of damaged goods around the league. He washed out in Philly and did nothing to speak of here last year. I'd be shocked if they got anything for him, to be honest with you. So I think he's just going to be released, and somebody might pick him up after that. But I don't expect much, to be honest with you. Don't want to risk injury, skull for life. Exactly. That's why I don't think I don't think that they'll have KJ back there. LE has a size. What is he size wise, Dan? I remember seeing at one point in time, but I can't remember right now. And that's the thing. We need a little more size in that middle because we all know Bradbury's undersized. To his credit, now last year he played well up until he got hurt. But I'm honestly still concerned with Bradbury. Does he continue the improvement that he had last year, or does he revert back to Bradbury now that he got paid a little bit? And also, is that back injury that he had last year going to be a problem? We don't know. We'll find out, I guess, early on what happens there. I'd still like to see him bring in another guard to compete with Ingram and Cleveland. Dalton Reisner's out there yet. No, we just mentioned today Andrew Norwell was released. One of those two guys would be, I think that would be worth talking to him anyway, bringing him in, trying him out, seeing what they got. Reisner, of course, has the history with Chris Cooper, our offensive lineman, our coach. So there's always been that tie, but no real steam as far, it's been bantered about by the fan base and some of the podcasters and pundits and that kind of stuff, but never been any credible rumors out of the team itself or, from somebody with ties to the team that said that they, have taken a close look at Reisner. But, maybe if they see after the first preseason game or so, and if they're still out there, then you make a move. But right now, I think they're going to go with what they got. The guy they signed today, again, is just a depth guy, I think, until Chris Reed gets off his whatever he's got bugging him. Several UDFAs have return ability, so the winner might be wide receiver 5. I think that's what you're going to end up with, Dan. Definitely lacks size, at least for depth. We do. We've always been pushing that zone blocking stuff, and as you've seen, like last year, you got somebody like Dexter Lawrence that comes in and eats the lunch of your interior offensive line because we don't have those guys in the middle that has the size or the leverage to stop somebody, of that caliber. 6'6", 315 or so for Ellie. Yeah, that's a pretty good sized boy. I mean, he, if he can play, maybe he makes a push for the roster too. And that's, it's all about the best players. I don't care if they were undrafted free agents or second round picks. If you can play and you can prove that you can play, then you deserve a spot on the team. If you're a first round pick and you play like garbage, they're typically not going to get rid of a first round pick right away, but you can't let draft position dictate who plays and who doesn't if the talent is more significant on somebody that's drafted later. It's all about making the best team possible, not having the most first-round picks as your starters kind of thing. How many freaking years have we all been saying fix the O-line? Pretty much since Steve Hutchinson retired. It's been a long time. I mean, we've got one of the better, one of the best tackle tandems in the league. We got to get that interior fixed, and that's a big problem you've got with a non-mobile quarterback like Kirk Cousins. If that pocket collapses on him, that's where a lot of these sacks are coming from and hits and all knockdowns because he doesn't have a pocket to step up into. So that interior, and to Ingram's credit, he started playing better at the end of the season. I'm expecting him to take that next step this year. Now, if he doesn't, then we have an issue. Cleveland, we know what we got with him. he's in the final year of his deal, so I expect him to be playing well this year because he's playing for a contract. And I mean, we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's about all I got for tonight. We've been going here for about 45 minutes, so I think unless you guys got anything else you want to talk about, we will call it an evening. Get up there and check out the latest news and everything else. But again, want to thank everybody for watching. Remember, Wednesday night, Brunswick's Best returns with this week's spotlight on number 14. And, of course, our regular studio show on Friday night, 6 p.m., where we will hopefully have a bunch of stuff from training camp to talk about at that point in time, so make sure you tune in there. If you have not done so, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button so you guys don't miss any of the shows. I want to thank all you guys again for joining. Reggie, Skull for Life, Worthless Opinion, Dan, Dave, Thomas, Ken, all you guys. If I'm missing anybody in there, I know I probably am. Again, want to shout out to our fan club over in the Philippines, Nonoy, Jen, Bibi, Wilma, Miss G. You guys stay safe over there. I know you're getting hit with a typhoon at the moment, so make sure you stay safe over there. And you guys make sure, again, check out Brunswick's Best Wednesday, the studio show Friday. And with that, you guys have a good evening. We will see you later on in the week. Keep posted for the latest out of training camp. We'll be putting stuff on the Facebook page and that kind of stuff. But with that, you guys have a good evening.